With me now to discuss former Republican Congresswoman, our special guest today, Nan Hayworth, Republican strategist and NEWSMAX contributor Luke Ball, and retired FBI Supervisory Special Agent Scott Duffey. Good to see you all. Scott, I want to start with you. Tracking down these kinds of guys, I guess this time it was done on social media. Obviously, he had pursued things a little bit further. How do you go about doing it? How difficult is it to get these lone wolf type characters?
Yeah, it's very difficult, Bob. The lone wolf, it's great that anybody, if they're not leaking it out to friends or family or colleagues where somebody can tip off the police, thank God that they're doing it on social media. So thereby his social media platform, whatever he's putting out there, any type of threats, even if they're veiled threats, they get an extra attention, they get a look at. So I'm believing that law enforcement had somewhat a head start on this individual.
Well, that's good to know. Luke, I want to bring up 8647, James Comey, that type of rhetoric. And do you think that has led to situations like this?
Most likely. I mean, James Comey is somebody who is at the upper echelons of law enforcement. He's not just somebody off of the street. He's asking Americans to believe a lot of things. Number one, that he just stumbled across this seashell formation. It just sounds ridiculous to say. And number two, that he didn't know what it meant whenever he posted it. This is somebody, as I said, not unfamiliar with law enforcement, somebody who has prosecuted high-profile individuals, and yet we're expected to believe that he didn't know what he was doing whenever he posted that photograph. I hope we get to the bottom of it, because things like this should not be happening. Comey seems to inject himself into American politics at every wrong moment in the last decade. So this stuff needs to stop. And these threats that are going against the president, and frankly, any public official, I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, that is not how we conduct political discourse in the United States. We make our voices known at the ballot box and through free speech that does not call for violence. And if you are resorting to that sort of violence, it means you have failed the argument in any sort of political debate. So let's do better and make sure that this type of stuff doesn't happen. Let's get to the bottom of the Comey thing, too.
Well, that's just it. Then they're admitting they couldn't win the debate or on policy. It's just, okay, we're going to eliminate our opponent. Luke, I'll take that a step further. James Comey, he went on all the talk shows, and they all brought this up, and they kept showing the picture, all the hosts from CBS, other outlets, and I feel like they were egging people on. That's my belief in this, Nan, that they were egging people on to keep showing 8647 on TV. And then, because then they bought his excuse, whoa, I found these seashells here, perfectly on this beach with my wife here. I'm not even sure the image is real. Sometimes I think it's AI. I don't know. I'm not saying it's very hard to tell.
Yeah.
I think that the broadcast TV networks are kind of complicit in this.
They are. You're exactly right, Bob. And look, we were just talking about how young men are feeling in the United States. A lot of alienation. Obviously, this young man is of dual citizenship. I don't know how much time he spent in the United States versus Germany, but Germany is undergoing its own age of alienation. And it is being framed in terms of good versus evil. And President Trump and MAGA Republicans, I mean, we heard our previous president say it over and over again, and all his friends and colleagues, we are the problem. We are the existential threat to the United States. Now,
to the democracy.
Correct. When vulnerable young people hear that, obviously Mr. Neumeier has some serious problems, but when they hear that, they say, I can be a hero. I can save the world. I'm going to get this guy.
Just like that kid in Butler.
Exactly.
A young kid and kind of wayward, and then he goes up there and does that.
Yeah.
Also, that's another can of worms, too. Scott, your take, when people hear that, especially young, impressionable people, see leaders of the world, James Comey is, whether you like it or not, former FBI director, post things like that, it has to inflame them and, get their gears kind of turning in their head a little bit, don't you think? I'm sure you've had experience with this.
Yeah, this rhetoric is not acceptable. Anyone who's going to post something that could be taken by anybody, but especially somebody who perhaps has some mental health conditions, is going to take it a very serious way. And so thereby, any type of post that is vague, insinuating, is only inviting violence or call for violence.
I have a thought that if Democrats want to get young male voters again, maybe somebody comes out and says, this is lunacy, this kind of stuff. Just a thought. I don't know, just me. Scott, Luke, got to leave it there. Thanks for coming on, Nan. Stick around. You're coming on later.